I'm Tammy Silverman of Indiana Youth Institute. Between school demands, maintaining friendships, and expectations from adults, it's no wonder that children sometimes feel stressed out. But unlike adults, experts say children may not be able to recognize stress or know how to cope. Luckily, you can help your child handle the challenges they're facing. Start by making yourself available to talk and be a good listener. Let your child express their views, and when you respond, focus on your child's feelings rather than your own. You can also ask your child what they need from you, whether it's advice or help solving a problem. But if stress is still overwhelming, experts recommend you reach out to a licensed mental health professional to make sure your child gets the support they need and deserve. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled to have you with us, and I'm actually glad to be back in the studio. I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, we got preempted because of race coverage, if I remember correctly. And then last weekend, I had a family wedding, my wife's family, so that was not optional. So I was at a wedding. In fact, I was right across the circle. I was at the Columbia Club for an absolutely beautiful wedding. And the wedding reception, and then we ended up staying right there in the Columbia Club. And so it was really fun. It was a fun wedding and a great group. And I got great feedback. Producer Carl put together last week what we call the Best of the Gun Guy. And Carl used his own discretion to put together what we played. And I actually got really good feedback. I had people comment on social media that they really enjoyed the show and hoped we would post it and continue to make it available. So that is posted, and you can always find my shows on iTunes, on Omni, and kind of all the usual places. But you can also go to the WIBC page and click on shows, and then click on Gun Guy. And we've got several weeks, if not months, or years even, of shows posted there, and you can go back. So thanks for the positive feedback on last week's show, even though it wasn't live. But we're thrilled to have a live show for you tonight. And as we always do, we've got a lot to go into. If you've sort of stored up your questions or comments over the last couple of weeks and want to give us a call and join the discussion, please do throughout our 2-hour show. It's 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. Give us a call, join the discussion. We're always happy to hear from our listeners, particularly when we haven't had an opportunity to take calls here for a couple of weeks. Between being preempted and then doing a Best of the Gun Guy recorded show last week. But I want to get into a number of things. And first of all, a whole bunch of people have forwarded me either by email or on social media, whether on Facebook or on Twitter. By the way, if you're on Twitter, I guess we're supposed to call that X now, but I'm having trouble with that transition. Twitter or X, whatever it is you want to call it. I'm on there just at Guy Relford. Give me a follow while you're on there. I'm being a lot more active on Twitter these days, posting a lot more content, and we'd love to have you share that. I'm commenting, for instance, on what we'll get into on the Gun Guy Show, and I get great feedback for what people would like me to go into on the Gun Guy Show, and you have an opportunity to provide that feedback directly to me on Twitter or X, if you prefer to go with the new nomenclature. Go on there and give me a follow at Guy Relford, and I would appreciate it. In the meantime, several people, as I mentioned, have sent me a link, and there's a guy apparently called the Armed Scholar, and I've never heard of this guy, but he has a YouTube channel, and a whole bunch of people sent me the link to this guy doing a show or a story or a segment, whatever you want to call it, on YouTube, a video, where the caption, it's got this big picture of Biden yelling, and it's got, I don't know, I think Kamala Harris looking upset. And the title or caption of this thing is Supreme Court eliminates carry laws. And it goes on from there. And I'm looking at this link going, well, no, the Supreme Court hasn't done any such thing. And so what the hell is this all about? And so I watched the video, and it turns out that, and the content of the video wasn't bad. I mean, it was fairly accurate. And I don't know what this guy's background is that calls himself the armed scholar. He's clearly pro 2A. I mean, he and I are on the same side of things, and I believe to be the right side of things. So I don't want to be critical, but I absolutely hate headlines like that. 6-3 Supreme Court decision eliminates carry laws or strikes down carry laws or something along those lines. And I'm like, hold on, what? And what he's actually talking about, and it does bear some discussion, and it is definitely a positive development. But let's talk about what did and didn't happen here recently. What he's actually talking about is something that is very, very limited in its effect. And what it is, it's a ruling by one judge in one county in the state, or they would say Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as to one guy. And so it's very limited. It's one judge at the state trial court level. So it's not even a state appellate court that may have influence and precedence there throughout Massachusetts. It's just one judge. But the way that this particular judge ruled is actually very important, and I think dead on accurate. I think legally, absolutely legally correct. And I would like to see many more courts follow this up. I think it's interesting to see, it will be interesting to see what the intermediate and highest level appellate courts in Massachusetts have to say about this, including assuming that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts wants to take it up. Or they may drop it and we'll never hear any more about it, and we'll have to see other cases litigated along the same lines. But what this involves is a guy who was arrested in Massachusetts, who lives in New Hampshire. And he was apparently, according to the judge's opinion, lawfully carrying according to the laws of New Hampshire. Now, I don't know whether that's because New Hampshire has constitutional carry and he was carrying under that, or whether he had a license or permit to carry issued from his state, his home state of New Hampshire. I don't know. All the judge's opinion says is he was lawfully carrying according to the laws of New Hampshire. But he crossed over into Massachusetts while carrying his gun. So his crime associated with the carrying of that gun was simply crossing a state line. For instance, and there's a safe passage law now where in Illinois, if you have an Indiana license, they will allow you to possess a firearm under your Indiana license in your vehicle while in Illinois. But let's say I walk across the state line, or I'm in Illinois and I get out of my car and I go walking into a restaurant or a grocery store or a park or wherever it might be, carrying my handgun with my Indiana license. The crime I would be committing in Illinois would be carrying a handgun without a license, because Illinois now has what they call a concealed carry permit. They had to be ordered by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals to begin issuing licenses to its own citizens, because they never did before just a few years ago. I want to say probably 10 years ago. But once the court ruled that they had to, they started issuing licenses. But they don't recognize anybody else's license, including Indiana's. So the same thing could happen to me if I'm outside my vehicle in the state of Illinois. My only crime is essentially crossing the state line outside of a vehicle. With my Indiana license, I was lawful when I went through Terre Haute or Gary or wherever I passed through on my way to Illinois. But by going into Illinois, being outside my vehicle, now suddenly I'm committing a felony in Illinois. Well, that's what happened to this guy crossing the state line from New Hampshire into Massachusetts. He was arrested, he's prosecuted, he's convicted. we'll strike that. He wasn't convicted before the case went to a convict. Typically, that's what happens. Someone's convicted and then they appeal it to a court of appeals, for instance. In this case, at the trial court level, so not the appellate court, the court where he was being prosecuted, his lawyer, very smartly as it turns out, filed a motion to dismiss, saying that the statute, which said that someone who's lawfully carrying in their own state who merely crosses a state line into Massachusetts is suddenly committing a felony, his lawyer was arguing that was unconstitutional. The judge ultimately agreed and said, yes, I don't know of any other constitutional right that you lose simply by crossing the state line, leaving your home state and move into another state. What other constitutional freedom do you lose by simply crossing a state line? I think that's a brilliant argument. It's something I've been talking about forever. I've talked about that argument in the context of the 14th Amendment and talking about equal protection of the laws, and talking about due process, and talking about full faith and credit, which is only marginally applicable. But there's a number of other arguments. I've been talking about how if we ever get national reciprocity, I would much rather see the courts say that states have to recognize every other state's license or permit or lawful carry, whatever form it may take, and not have Congress give that to us in the form of a national law, a federal statute, because what Congress gives, Congress can take away. I'd much rather have the Supreme Court of the United States say, oh no, under the 14th Amendment, or according to the rationale of this judge in Massachusetts, under the Second Amendment, you can't take someone's constitutional right away under the Second Amendment, that is to bear arms, simply when they cross a state line. I'll go into more about why the court ruled the way they did and why this one particular YouTube author, poster, channel owner, whatever you call the person, was so excited about it. Now, he exaggerated, at least in the headlines. The content wasn't bad. The headlines are grossly exaggerated. But what does this really mean? It doesn't mean anything for us here in Indiana right now, but where could it go? Where could this argument, how could this argument develop? And where could this lead? And why a lot of us are seeing this as a very positive decision, notwithstanding the fact that it is incredibly limited in scope and application. We'll talk more about that when we come back, and we'll take your calls. I think a couple of people have called in, so we'll jump on the phone lines, and I'll get back to this decision out of Massachusetts and what it really could mean down the line, because it doesn't mean a lot right now. I would never post something on YouTube or anywhere else and say, oh, the Supreme Court has struck down all carry laws. I mean, come on. That's going to get you some clicks. But it's not accurate. But what does it really mean? We'll go into all of that, but we'll also go to our phone lines. We got a number of people on hold right now. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Sky Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, and we're bringing that back to Indy Arms Company, right there conveniently located on the northeast side of Indy, 2550 East 55th Street in Indianapolis. This is going to be Saturday, November 4th from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. You can register right online. This is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. When are you lawfully entitled to use force, including deadly force in self-defense or defense of a third person? Where is it illegal for you to carry a gun? Many places don't have any kind of a sign, but it's a felony to carry a gun there. How do you know that? You just have to know, and that's one of the things among many that we teach in Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Again, 5 hours, the most important legal information that you need. Register right online. It's tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. It's tactical-firearms.com. Click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Yeah, the only real estate agent I'd trust to sell my house is Mark Deedle. Listen to what Ben in Indianapolis had to say. I wanted to upgrade into a bigger place, so selling my old place at top dollar was a priority. I hired Mark Deedle, and the team was amazing. I got a great cash offer before going on the market. That included closing costs with no appraisal. I was blown away by the Mark Deedle team.
You got a lot of options in the real estate game, but Mark Deedle is the only real estate expert we trust and recommend with the sale of our homes here at the Hammer and Nigel Show. Mark Deedle guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date, no long-term contracts, and you can cancel anytime. MarkDeedle.com. That's D-I-E-T-E-L. MarkDeedle.com, or call 755-4232. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
AE Ammo is Greenwood's ammunition superstore. The largest variety in training, hunting, and self-defense ammo with the best prices locally guaranteed. Factory new 9mm FMJ ammo starting at $12 per 50-round box. Factory new 50-round boxes, $380 from $14.99 and $45 ACP from $18.99. And with the AE Ammo Customer Rewards Program, start earning points today towards money back to use on future purchases. Shop in-store or online at aeammo.com.
500 Guns is just east of the Speedway and the Viaduct on 16th Street. Joe and Guy Montgomery are the experts to trust when you want to buy or sell guns. They buy single guns or entire collections. If you've decided this is the year to become a gun owner or to add to your collection, don't buy until you visit 500 Guns. Contrary to what many think, you actually can get better pricing at 500 Guns than at the big box stores, and a lot better service. See them today. 500 Guns, West 16th Street, Indianapolis.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. Owner Chris Wedekin sells the ductless Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, which is a great option to heat and cool individual spaces while blending into the decor.
You want your poker room to be dressed up, you could take a vinyl wrap and put on these. If you like the more modern look, they have styles in black, silver, and pearl white that would be more aesthetically pleasing for your rooms.
Find out more at AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop overdose.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll tell you, we'll get back to this decision. Again, it's just a state court trial judge's opinion dismissing one case as to one guy. So it has very limited effect on anyone other than that one guy, although I'm sure he's pretty happy that at least for now the charges against him have been dismissed. But it does have potentially broader ramifications to the extent his argument that his lawyer used successfully in that case would be picked up by other judges and other courts across the country, and what that could potentially mean. We'll get back into that when we have a chance. In the meantime, a bunch of people have called, so let's go to the phone lines. Our pal Buzz has called. Buzz, welcome back to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, good afternoon, Guy. How you doing?
Good, man. You doing all right?
Yes. Okay, on my driver's license, I noticed that my expiration date and my issue date are written in red. And a few of the people that I know, theirs are all in black. Is that a way that the police know that I have a permit?
I've never heard that, Buzz. That's a possibility, I suppose. I don't know. When I have a chance, I'll grab my wallet and see whether mine is in red as well. But that could be. I don't know. I've certainly never heard that. But I can tell you this: when a police officer runs your driver's license, so this could be during a traffic stop or for whatever other reason, that officer is told that you have a license to carry a handgun without even asking. It comes up automatically. For instance, if they're running your driver's license from the computer in their unit, in their vehicle, then there's a little banner that comes right across the screen that says you have a license to carry. Now, that's when they run your driver's license, not your registration. And by the way, Buzz, I just pulled my driver's license out, and my expiration date is in black, bro, and I've had a lifetime licenses. They've had lifetime licenses. So it doesn't look like that's an indication. But the databases are linked. And so, for instance, I've been pulled over now a number of times with a gun in the car. And it's happened less and less. I think more and more police officers are just used to law-abiding citizens having guns in their cars. But I've had police officers before just ask me, where's the gun? You know, not even ask me if I have a gun, just ask me where it is. Now, that could also be because my license plate says gun lawyer or because, you know, my pickup truck had a great big, huge decal across the back that said tactical firearms training. So that may have given them a clue as well. But and what some officers will do, and different departments have different protocols, but what some officers do is when they pull over a vehicle, they'll run the plate to see who the registered owner is, and then they can go ahead and bring up the driver's license of the registered owner. That may or may not be the driver just because the car is registered to that particular person, but often it is, and sometimes officers will take a look at that. But they are told when they run your driver's license through the computer that you have a license to carry. Let's go back to the phone lines, and let's see. I think Don is next as far as how long you've been on hold. Don, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, you have a great show. It's always real full of vital technical information.
Thank you.
My question is, a person that has constitutional carry, when they go to buy a gun, they have to go to the exact same background check that I have to go to because I'm a lifetime permit holder. Is that correct or not?
Close. With the background check that NICS does, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System that is used for gun purchases, is also used when, for instance, you go to apply for a handgun license, and they pull up all that same information on a handgun license. A person who doesn't have a license and is just trying to buy a gun, they get a NICS check. What's a little different, for instance, if you're applying for a license to carry, the state police, they use NICS and they also use IDAX, which is the state license. They use NCIC, which is the National Criminal Information Center. And they have access to the exact same information that NICS does when they're running a background check as part of a gun purchase. The criteria is slightly different. In other words, there are a couple of disqualifiers to get a handgun license that will keep you from getting a handgun license that do not prohibit you from buying a gun. For instance, under the handgun licensing statute, and this is so vague, and I've argued we ought to change this. And in fact, some of the was identical language that used to be in our red flag statute for the seizure of firearms, we got changed because there's this infamous Section 6 to get. I know this isn't exactly your question, Don, but looking at a handgun license background check and what it takes to get a handgun license is, again, it's slightly different than the background check you go through to buy a gun because, for instance, it's different in terms of the disqualifiers that exist, because there's one there where the state police can deny you a license under this so-called Section 6 if there's documented evidence that will give rise to a reasonable belief that you have a propensity for violent or emotionally unstable conduct. Violent or emotionally unstable conduct. And what does that even mean? And that's not a conviction for anything. It's just documented evidence, whatever that means. And violent, okay, we can get our heads around violent, but what does emotionally unstable mean? I mean, in arguing why we should take that language out of the red flag statute, which we've done, we've substituted now, it says suicidal in the red flag statute. And I fought for that. If it was my idea to change that, because I had real red flag cases where somebody said, well, this person's emotionally unstable. I'm like, wow, what is that? Well, first of all, what does that even mean? I don't know what it means. I mean, when the Colts quarterback throws an interception, I cuss a lot and throw pillows at the TV. Is that emotionally unstable? I mean, my wife would say yes. Does that mean I've lost my constitutional rights? I wouldn't think so. What the hell does emotionally unstable mean? And so, and so that section of the handgun licensing statute, I think, is overly vague, and the state police will use that to deny somebody a license. But in the meantime, it is generally true that a person under constitutional carry who goes in to buy a gun, if in order to buy that gun, they have to be a law-abiding citizen and pass a NICS check. And I will tell you right now, 99% of the people that pass a NICS check would also qualify to carry under constitutional carry. They're that similar. There are a couple of variations, so I can't say they're identical, but it's very, very damn close. But in the meantime, I'll tell you what, let's take a break here at the bottom of the hour. I got a bunch of people on hold. We'll go right back to the phone lines when we come back. I really appreciate people calling. We'll get to everybody, so please have patience. We'll go back to the phone lines here in just a bit. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
61% of Americans are more afraid of running out of money in their old age.
It's not that surprising.
I saw a meme and I just thought it was everything. It was like, okay, so Europeans, I'm going to take the summer off because I want a suntan. Americans, I'm going to take 3 days off to have open heart surgery.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can get 1 year of unlimited mobile for free. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year, free. It's our best internet, powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability. Plus 1 line of free mobile for a year. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now.
Get started with internet and advanced security for $39 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, for a limited time only, ask how new and existing customers can get 1 year of unlimited mobile for free during the Mobile Made Free event. Call or go online today to learn more. Ends 9/21/2023. EcoBill and autopay required. New 100 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Mobile offer requires 100 megabits per second internet and new unlimited intro mobile service. Other restrictions apply.
Dive into the summer of Jeep with York Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Plainfield. Dreaming of a new Jeep Compass? Yours for just $319 a month. Or take on the new Grand Cherokee at $359 a month. Get employee pricing on a new Jeep Gladiator. You pay what we pay. This month only at York Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Start your next deal at YorkCDJRofPlainfield.com.
We're not number one.
You are.
You're number one at York.
Hey friends, the Wings Etc. Birthday Bash is coming this Wednesday, August 30th. Come celebrate with one-day only birthday discounts. Jumbo and boneless wings are just 59 cents. And domestic schooners are just $3.49. And free birthday cake while supplies last. Best of all, we're kicking off our Wings Etc. ATV sweepstakes. You can enter to win a 2024 Polaris Sportsman 570 ATV. See you at Wings Etc. this Wednesday, August 30th. Participating locations only. See store for details.
Fox News, I'm Ann Carrick. At least 4 dead in Jacksonville, Florida at a Dollar General store. A gunman opening fire on cars, then barricading himself inside the store. The shooter killed after a SWAT standoff. Officials reportedly holding a prayer circle outside. Longtime television host and animal activist Bob Barker has died. Fox's Chris Foster.
Bob Barker got his break in 1956 as host of Truth or Consequences.
Remember this name. You're going to be hearing a lot about him. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Barker.
In 1972, Barker began his run on The Price is Right.
Step over there and spin that wheel.
By 2007, at age 83, the price was no longer right for Bob Barker. He retired after winning 19 Emmys and earning a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records as TV's most durable performer.
Barker was 99. America's listening to Fox News.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WHEEL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WHEEL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WHEEL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
Ask Sherwin-Williams and get 35% off Emerald products and Super Deck stains August 25th through the 28th. That means 35% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 35% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Let's go right back to the phone lines. We've had a whole bunch of people holding for a while, and I love it when when our listeners call in. Matt's been holding for a while. Matt, you may be asking me about something I plan on talking about later in the show, Matt, but go ahead.
Hey, Guy, I just had a question about that IMPD shooting video that was going around last week. Now, At what point, if you just are walking around with a handgun in your hand, say pointed at the ground, at what point is that a crime?
Well, it's not. That is just being in possession of a gun, Matt. And I'm going to talk about the IMPD shooting here later. In fact, I was on Channel 8 talking to Richard Essex about that shooting. I was on Hammer and Nigel, talked about it as well. But I'm going to go into a little more detail here on the show, time permitting, this afternoon. But listen, what's illegal? Well, it's being in possession of a gun if you can't lawfully possess a gun. So that doesn't apply. You have a license or you're carrying lawfully under constitutional carry. Is just having a gun in your hand a crime? No. It's illegal to point it at someone unless you're justified in using force in self-defense. It's unlawful to threaten someone with it, again, unless you're lawfully justified. It's illegal to shoot it in a way that endangers some other person. That's criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. If you're doing that intentionally, that could be anything up to and including attempted murder. So there's a number of crimes associated with possession of a gun or pointing a gun or the use of a gun in an illegal or irresponsible way. Just having a gun in your hand, not necessarily. But the question about this shooting, and I'm going to go into this in the second hour of the show, is just having a gun in your hand is a little different than being in a traffic stop where you start going through your wallet. You're obviously agitated. You at one point say, I just got out of prison, which I thought was an interesting point. Then you reach back into your vehicle, grab a gun during a traffic stop, and begin to run away, which is very important. Run away with that gun in your hand. And that's a little different than just, me walking around Monument Circle with a gun in my hand. Now, the fact that it's in my hand, even just walking around Monument Circle, do I think that allows police just to walk up and shoot me? I don't think so. But I would also want to combine that with everything else, and because the cases, the law often talks about what they call the totality of the circumstances. That is an officer responding to that. Am I acting a little crazy? Am I acting a little agitated? Have I given any indication that I may hurt someone? Or I actually intend to hurt someone? Why is it in my hand as opposed to in a holster? I mean, there is any number of different issues. Now, just having a gun in my hand, is that illegal? No. And we've had people do open carry protests, for instance, where they've got a long gun, like an AR or an AK, and it's on a tack sling. They're at low ready. They got both hands on the gun. You got one hand on the forestock. They got another hand on the pistol grip. The gun's right there at low ready. That's where the tack sling holds it, and that's how they're walking around Monument Circle. Does that allow a police officer to run up and shoot them? No. But you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. And I'm going to talk about what that totality of the circumstances was in the context of that traffic stop, and also talk about what exactly the law is, because there's a statute. You want to look it up. It's 35-41-3-3. And it talks about use of force to effect an arrest or prevent an escape. And there's actually a section in there that applies to private citizens, because there's such a thing as a citizen's arrest. But then there's a couple of different sections that apply to police officers. And I'll talk about what that law is and how it likely applies to that IMPD shooting. And I've posted that video on my social media. You can find that on my Twitter at Guy Relford, or my Facebook, Guy A. Relford. And again, I did a story with Richard Essex. I did an interview with Hammer and Nigel. But I'm going to talk about it more because I think my audience is a little different. And many of folks listening to this show likely didn't hear any of those segments. But I'll get more into all of that, Matt, because you raise a great question. Let's go back to the phone lines. And Bradley's been on hold for quite a while. Bradley, thanks for your patience, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Thank you. I really appreciate the show.
Sure.
This is probably a dumb question. I probably already know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. I'm a honorably discharged veteran, but I have what's called major depressive disorder, 100% disability. I'm assuming that would keep me from being able to purchase a firearm. Am I correct?
Well, I hate to give you an indefinite answer, Bradley, but it's a big maybe, because it kind of depends on how that adjudication went within the VA. Something that changed under the Obama administration. And some of this got undone a little bit under Trump, but as you might guess, it hasn't gone very positively under the Biden administration. But the Obama administration took the position that if you got a disability rating, including for PTSD, and that came from as part of like an adjudication, that is a administrative review within the VA, then that meant you'd lost your Second Amendment rights. For something like major depressive disorder, the federal statute says you've lost your gun rights if you've been adjudicated to be mentally defective. Now, I hate that terminology. It's offensive wording, but that's what the federal statute says. So if there's an adjudication that the federal government would say means that you meet that standard because of your 100% disability rating for the basis of it, which, as you said, was a major depressive disorder, then yes, the federal government's going to take the position you're prohibited from possessing a gun. But it kind of depends on what exactly was said, what exactly that disability rating was based on, and exactly what the VA did at an administrative level to determine whether it meets that standard of quote unquote adjudicated to be mentally defective. Again, I hate that terminology. I'm not easily offended, but that's offensive terminology, especially when applied to a veteran who may have a condition, an injury they incurred in the defense of this country. I hate using that label, but that's how that shakes out. I would say it's likely the VA, the federal government, FBI, as part of a background check, would take the position that you're disqualified, which breaks my heart because it shouldn't be that way. But certainly under both the Obama and Biden administrations, that's the direction the VA and the FBI have gone on those issues. I'll tell you, we're at the 3/4 hour. I've still got several people on hold. We will go right back to the phone lines after this break. But right now we're taking a break. Give us a call. Join the discussion. Fabulous questions so far. 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Stopped on 465
From
again.
the north side.
We haven't moved on 37 since
to the
yesterday.
south side.
Avoid south side 465.
To the west side.
Yeah, stopped on westbound 465
to
again.
the east side.
Gridlock all the way through the east side.
Traffic's a bear.
Drove into a ditch through the tree line.
And
just
Matt Bear,
traffic stop on the right.
he's a beast.
Traffic jam of epic proportion.
Helping you navigate the...
Oh, come on.
And the...
Let's go.
And the... With Matt Bear Traffic, mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is our Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class, which is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. You can sign up right online. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We've got one coming up Saturday, November 4th at Indy Arms, conveniently located on the northeast side of Indy. We love teaching courses there at Indy Arms. Check that out at tactical-firearms.com. You can sign up right online. Again, just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Take a little trip this summer in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Indiana has over 20 state parks, so camp, swim, or just enjoy the best scenery the country has to offer. We want you to see it all. That's why every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations or visit drivehubler.com and choose from over 1,000 vehicles. Chevy, Ford, GMC, Buick, Nissan, Acura, Mazda, Honda, and many more. All makes, all models, certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle includes a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. Take a little trip this summer because Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So what drives Indiana? DriveHubler.com. For over 1,000 vehicles, visit any of our 12 locations. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Whether you're an experienced firearms owner or are just thinking about getting a new firearm, Atkinson Firearms in Greenwood has everything you need. With brands like Glock, Smith & Wesson, Canik, Colt, Henry, SIG, and much more. If Atkinson Firearms doesn't have it, they can get it. Plus accessories, from holsters to ammo and everything between. Atkinson Firearms is firefighter owned and veteran staff with a new larger location. Follow Atkinson Firearms on Facebook. Atkinson Firearms, off County Line Road next to the Greenwood Airport.
When you've been injured in a car wreck, there's a lot at stake. Your family, your job, your future. And the insurance company knows there's a lot at stake for them too. That's why you deserve a law firm with a proven track record of success. I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs. Reputation matters. Experience matters. You matter. When everything's at stake, Isaacs & Isaacs is here for you in Indiana. Just click to get help quick at WeWin.com.
For all your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and drains, call the man for all seasons. Chapman. Proud partner of Bryant. Whatever it takes. ChapmanHeating.com.
Grab a duck, save a buck. Save 10 to 50% off your retail purchases at Sundown Gardens through this Sunday. 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, SundownGardens.com.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnogkidhungry.org.
The latest local news, commentary from Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, Hammer and Nigel, podcasts. Listen to the station live whenever, wherever, online at WIBC.com. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Let's go right back to the phone lines. We've had absolutely fabulous callers all night. I really appreciate it. We got a bunch of people on hold, so we'll keep going. We'll get to everybody, so please have patience. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you've been on hold forever, man. Again, thanks for the patience.
Hi, Guy. How you doing?
Good, man.
I think you got one of the best shows out there on radio.
Thank you.
But I was just wanting to ask you about that. I'm sure you heard about that 16-year-old kid that was inside his house, and I guess he looked out the window and seen a guy with a ski mask on breaking into his mom's car, and I guess he went and got his mom's gun and shot at him and ended up killing the guy, which is the bummer. The guy ended up dying and all that, but the way I see it, I don't think he should have got arrested. The way I see it is the guy with the ski mask came on their property looking for trouble. That kid was probably the middle of the night, or he's probably getting ready to go to school or whatever, and looked out the window and seen that, and probably didn't know what to do. And
well, Chris, let me tell you, because this is something I cover in my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. We talk about this specifically, and some people are disappointed to hear this, but I'll tell you, Indiana law is really clear on this point. And that is that you can use deadly force to protect yourself or someone else from serious bodily injury, or from the commission of what we call a forcible felony. That's a felony committed through the use or threat of force against a human. You can use deadly force to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into your home. And we actually extend that to your occupied motor vehicle, so that if you're in your car, it has to be your car, but if you're in your car and someone's trying to unlawfully attack or enter your vehicle, the so-called Kessel Doctrine, as we call it here in Indiana, and as they call it in a lot of states, actually extends to your occupied motor vehicle. But Indiana law is very clear, and there's a statute right on point, that when it comes to your property, and I'm not talking about your home that's the Kessel Doctrine, that's a whole different set of rules. But when it comes to your property, like your car, or the things you have in your car, including valuables that may be in your car, Indiana law says you can use reasonable force, but you can never use deadly force merely to protect your property. Again, I'm not talking about your home. I'm talking about your car and stuff in your car. So if a guy is breaking into your car just to steal your car, or to steal the stuff that's in your car, Indiana law is very, very clear that you can't use deadly force. Now, assuming this is safe and reasonable to do under the circumstances, could you run out, grab the guy by the collar, and throw him out of your car? Could you punch him a couple of times? Yeah, you can use reasonable force to defend your property, but you can't use deadly force. And that's a point I always emphasize in my class, and a lot of times people are kind of looking at me going, oh, man, that's my property. I work hard for that. I got to stand around and watch somebody steal it. Well, no. You can use reasonable force, you just can't use deadly force. And in that situation, when a gun's involved, it's very likely to be determined to be, quote unquote, deadly force. So, yeah, on that point, Indiana law is actually very clear. Let's go back to the phone lines, and we got Dale. Dale, you've been on hold for a while too, man. Thanks for your patience. What you got for us?
I have a question about police officers.
Okay, in this situation, I was pulled over for speeding. I was doing 35 and a 30, okay? Cop pulls me over, says, "Where's the gun?" He already knew that I had I already have the lifetime permit, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, he probably ran your plate and then ran your driver's license like I was talking about earlier.
Right. He didn't even run my driver's license. He already knew that I had a lifetime permit. But the first thing he says was, "Where's the gun?" And I said, "It's in a small of my back." He says, "Give it to me." Do I have the ability to give him my weapon right then and there?
Well, actually, there's an Indiana case right on point, Dale, and this goes back to 2010, and it's Melvin Washington versus State. If anybody wants to Google this, look it up and read it. But Melvin got pulled over for a traffic stop, and Melvin, like you did, revealed that he had a gun in the car and also that he had a license to carry. And the officer said, "Well, I'm going to have to seize that gun for my safety during the stop." And so he took Melvin out of the car, and Melvin had said, "Well, it's under the seat." And the officer searched for the gun. He found the gun, but he also found drugs. So Melvin went to jail and got convicted for having the drugs. The question became, was that an illegal search or seizure? If he demands to take possession, that's a seizure. It was an illegal search and an illegal seizure under the Fourth Amendment. Because the court said, listen, the only way you can search a driver or seize their property in the form of their gun is either if you have a reasonable suspicion that that person poses a danger to the officer, and the mere possession of a gun doesn't get you there because it was a person who volunteered they had a gun and they have a license to carry. So merely having the gun doesn't create that reasonable suspicion that they're a danger to the officer or that they're engaged in criminal activity. So the court ruled that violated Melvin's Fourth Amendment rights. So that officer violated your Fourth Amendment rights. The question becomes, what do you do about it? What do you do about it on the side of the road? It's not an argument that you're going to win on the side of the road. So I would say I don't believe that's a lawful order. You might want to contact a supervisor. At the end of the day, if they demanded, I'm going to say, I don't really want to handle a loaded gun here on the side of the road. I'll get out, you can take it. But at the end of the day, they violated your rights. The problem is that's not an argument you typically are going to win on the side of the road. We're coming up on the top of the hour. It's time to take a break. We'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
At Peterman Brothers, we know how critical AC can be to your comfort.
And we want to make sure you're comfortable in every season.
That's why right now when you install a qualifying AC system with Peterman Brothers, we'll include the furnace for free.
That's right, Indiana. The furnace is free.
And if you schedule today, we'll install your new system tomorrow, guaranteed.
Visit PetermanHVAC.com to schedule online in seconds.
500 Guns is just east of the Speedway and the Viaduct on 16th Street. Joe and Guy Montgomery are the experts to trust when you want to buy or sell guns. They buy single guns or entire collections. If you've decided this is the year to become a gun owner or to add to your collection, don't buy until you visit 500 Guns. Contrary to what many think, you actually can get better pricing at 500 Guns than at the big box stores, and a lot better service. See them today. 500 Guns, West 16th Street, Indianapolis.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
Right now, take advantage of Rhino Shield's summer savings. Get $1,000 off plus 0% interest for 18 months.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Want to look your best? Then go to the best. Go where I go. 459 Barber Lounge. Across from the Fashion Mall on 86th Street. 459online.com. Tell them Tony Cat sent you.
Emmer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday. Brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Broadcasting from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
At least 4 people are dead after a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. Officials report a suspected gunman opened fire on cars before heading into a Dollar General store and continuing to shoot. This led to a SWAT standoff with police. After the suspect barricaded himself inside the store, the shooter eventually was killed. No word on the number of injuries following the shooting. Bob Barker, best known for The Price is Right, has died. Barker was an iconic American game show host and animal rights activist.
The host of America's longest-running game show.
Welcome to The Price is Right.
Bob Barker got his break in 1956 as host of Truth or Consequences.
Remember this name. You're going to be hearing a lot about him. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Barker.
In 1972, Barker began his run on The Price is Right.
Step over there and spin that wheel. And you got 90 cents. That went all the way around.
An animal rights supporter, he ended each show with a special request.
Reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered.
By 2007, at age 83, the price was no longer right for Bob Barker. He retired after winning 19 Emmys and earning a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records as TV's most durable performer.
$2,000.
Chris Foster, Fox News.
Bob Barker was 99 and less than 4 months away from his 100th birthday. Tens of thousands of people set to attend the March on Washington today, commemorating Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, as well as his cause.
When I say democracy, you say for the people. Democracy.
For the people.
Democracy.
For the people.
That is Congressman Stephen Horsford rallying at the 60th anniversary of the original march. America's listening to Fox News.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Transom.com daily newsletter, and I'm inviting you to join a conversation every week with the smartest thinkers out there about the issues Americans face and where we're going as a nation. This show will feature deep dive interviews with newsmakers and some of your favorite Fox News analysts. I hope you'll join me as we dive into the fray. It's the Ben Domenech Podcast.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
She's coming to Indianapolis. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. High school students in Indianapolis may soon get to see the First Lady of the United States speak. Dr. Jill Biden is planning to visit one school with the U.S. Surgeon General Wednesday, though it is not clear which institution will host the two. They plan to talk about school mental health resources. Canadian wildfire smoke is blamed for a recent jump in asthma-related trips to the emergency room. The CDC says researchers found that ER visits were 17% higher than usual in areas where wildfire smoke triggered air quality alerts between April and August. If you recently purchased Kroger brand frozen vegetables, you may not want to eat some of them. Twin City Foods is recalling the brand's frozen corn and mixed vegetables with corn because of a possible bacterial contamination. That being said, the Food and Drug Administration has not received any reports of illness caused by the vegetables. If you recently bought some frozen corn or mixed veggies, you can return them for a refund. And speaking of food, going on now is Indiana's largest wine festival. That's in Vevey, which is in Switzerland County.
We get visitors from all over the place. This is our 51st year for it. We started the first Indiana commercial winery over 200 years ago.
Suzanne Rails says about 40,000 people will attend the wine festival, and it runs through Sunday. The celebration includes a variety of wines from Indiana, entertainment, and food. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low temperatures in the mid-60s, and then for the forecast on Sunday, high temperatures in the upper 70s under mostly sunny skies. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Have you lost Indiana Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Indiana adventure is near. Come to Grant County this year.
Visit the Marion Municipal Airport for high-flying fun at the Fly-In Cruise on September 3rd. Discover antique aircraft, vintage cars, trucks, motorcycles, and autocycles. Take flight in historic aircraft and fill up at the all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast. Get details at showmegrantcounty.com. Grant County, Indiana. Classic cool.
Indiana adventure is near. Come to Grant County this year.
Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $139 and a free hallway too, and $50 off air duct cleaning with ZeroRes. 388-5141 and ZeroResIndy.com.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. Got a couple of things I'm still going to get into. I'm going to get into this ruling out of Massachusetts. Again, it's just one trial court judge who issued this ruling, and a lot of internet excitement over it. I think not understanding how limited its application really is, but I love the ruling, and it really could be used. The logic of it, I think, is dead on. I think it's absolutely accurate from a legal perspective, and it's a correct application of the U.S. Supreme Court's recent decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, and since that is the law of the land, and I think this one Massachusetts judge applied it correctly. We'll go into more detail what that could mean down the road. And then I'm also going to talk about the IMPD shooting. A lot of people have called in and asked about that. I want to get into that this hour as well. But before I do any of that, I want to go back to the phone lines because we had a number of people on hold, and we always want to respect that and bring people into the show where we can. So, Lloyd, you've been on hold for a long time. What's your question?
The comment first about the driver's license. Some of mine is in red, but also my donor indicator is in red. I wonder if that connects, but it's not important right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a donor too, and I don't see any of that red print on mine. But yeah, I just don't know. I'll have to ask somebody at BMV about that sometime.
Well, you proved me wrong, and I'm not the first time that you proved people wrong.
Well, I could just not understand the system too, Lloyd. But I think you had a question about Giuliani in
Rudy
New York.
Giuliani. He cleaned up New York City, and I think that the ACLU did something to stop him from allowing, or to stop the city from allowing police officers to do their job about checking people that had guns and stuff like that. And I was wondering if you had an opinion.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly. And what we're talking about is that New York decided to get very aggressive with what's called stop and frisk. And stop and frisk is where a police officer on the street, out in public, can detain someone and investigate them. And this comes from a case called Terry v. Ohio, 1968, U.S. Supreme Court case. And the court in that case ruled that, and this rule is still in effect, that it's lawful for police officers to stop someone and detain them and investigate them, and as part of that, to do a quick search of their outer clothing to look for weapons that may be a danger to that officer during that detention and that investigation. But there's a huge limit on that, and that is that the police officer, and this is very similar to what I was talking about with a search of a vehicle when a gentleman called and I was talking about the Melvin Washington case where he said, can a police officer seize your gun during a traffic stop? The same rationale applies here. And what the court ruled is for a stop and frisk, that is to detain someone, investigate them, and do a quick pat down of them during that detention. The officer has to have a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. It can't just be some teenager walking down the street or a person of certain demographics walking down the street. It can't be just a random search. It has to be that there's a reasonable suspicion. Now, that's not probable cause for an arrest. It's a lower standard. Legally speaking, it's not probable cause for an arrest. It's just reasonable suspicion of criminal activity based on something. For instance, I think these are the facts at Terry. If it goes way back, last time I've read that case, but I think the person was basically walking back and forth, apparently casing a closed jewelry store after hours. An officer said, well, why is this person repeatedly walking back and forth and looking in the window? I think something's going on here. And they detained that person and patted him down. And where there's that reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, then that's a legal stop, a legal detention, and a legal search. The problem with just random stop and frisks on the streets of New York is that unless the officer has that reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, it violates the Fourth Amendment, which protects all of us, guilty and innocent alike, against unreasonable searches and seizures. And where there's that absence of reasonable criminal activity, then that's an unreasonable search and an unreasonable seizure. And anytime you're detained, that's a seizure. Hey, if you're not free to go, you've been seized. Well, when can an officer seize you with respect to detaining you and searching you? Only upon that reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. And that's an important element of the law. And I have no problem with it. And the idea that would say, well, Giuliani was stopped from cleaning up New York. Well, I'm sure that was a hindrance. But in the meantime, we're protecting people's constitutional rights under the Fourth Amendment. And I'm okay with that and always will be. Let's go back to the phone lines. And Mark is called. Mark, thanks for your patience as well, man. What can I do for you?
Hi, thank you very much, Guy. Appreciate all that you do out here.
Appreciate it.
I'm a retired police officer, served for 33 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
But since I was on different departments, I was never with one department long enough to gain a retirement. Oh, well,
Well, thanks for your service to the community anyway. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. I didn't do that to get the praise, but you're welcome. Yeah. I have always been loath to carry off duty, so I just never went out and got a permit. And since I don't have a retirement from a certified law enforcement agency, I knew under the old laws that I could not carry.
Oh, you can't carry under what's called LEOSA, the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, which allows retired officers to carry as well.
Well, what is the definition of retired? That was what.
Yeah, understood.
So I was like, so I always defaulted to that.
Uh-huh.
Recently, however, my wife and I have been just watching the news like everybody else, and we both decided to purchase firearms. Well, when I went to purchase a firearm, everything went the guy who owns the shop said, "My God, yours just went flying through." So in 2 minutes, I had it back. I'm good to go. Same thing with my wife. So there's no constitutional problem or a hindrance of me buying a gun. But when I was listening to you earlier, and I get to listen to you very infrequently, but I love it when I can. So thank you for your service in this, is that according to, and some of the other places I've checked, that I can, in fact, legally carry a firearm under constitutional carry.
Yes.
Without getting a license.
Yes, and unless you're prohibited by state or federal law from possessing a gun, and obviously you're not, then you can carry openly or concealed a handgun without a license.
In my gun, in my car, or on my person.
Yes, in Indiana, that's right, and 25 other states.
And 25. So, however, some of them are not reciprocal.
Yeah, well, there are 32 states that recognize our license, Mark. 25 of them have constitutional carry. And now that North Dakota just this month changed their law, all 25 other states that have constitutional carry recognize it for non-residents as well as their own residents. But there are 32 states that recognize our license. So you do the math. There are still 7 states where you would need an Indiana license to carry lawfully in those states.
How do I do that if I thought they got rid of getting licenses? That's what I was. We didn't
get rid of the licenses. You can still apply for a license, and in fact, the constitutional carry statute that I helped write makes it very clear that licenses are still available to applicants. All currently issued licenses remain valid. And a lot of people, even that are inclined to carry under constitutional carry, still go get their licenses for a number of reasons. For instance, do you know that under the Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act, it says that if you're within 1,000 feet of a school under the federal law, then you can't possess a firearm, and that's a felony. But there's a number of exceptions, one of which is if you're licensed by the state in which the school is located to have a gun under the federal law. Now, the state law is different. State law doesn't have that exception, but it only applies to the actual school property. But if I'm within 1,000 feet of a school with a handgun, and I'm not licensed by the state in which the school is located, I'm violating a federal statute that makes me a felon. To carry in a state park in Indiana. Yeah, to carry in a state park in Indiana, it says there's an exception. I can have a handgun with a license to carry a handgun. It doesn't say also under constitutional carry. So there's another reason to have one, as well as reciprocity in those states that don't have constitutional carry. So there are a whole lot of, and another reason is, a lot of private sellers won't sell a gun to a private individual unless you show them a license to carry a handgun. And even, that includes long guns. In other words, you're buying a shotgun from somebody and they'll say, please show me your license to carry. And I had this happen to me. I don't sell a lot of guns. I occasionally will trade one in when I'm getting something else. But one time I was selling a long gun, and I didn't know the person well. And I said, I'd like to see your license to carry. And he goes, well, guy, you don't need a license to carry to have a long gun. Why are you asking me about a license to carry? And I said, because it tells me that you're a law-abiding citizen who can lawfully possess a gun. And I understand you don't need a license to carry a long gun. That's not my point. My point is I want to know that you're someone who can lawfully possess a firearm before I sell you my gun. And that's what a lot of people do. So there are a whole bunch of reasons to still have a license, including the Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act. And that's why the licenses remain valid that have been issued, and you can still go apply for one, and a lot of people do. So we're a little past the quarter hour. We'll take a break. We just got a couple more people on hold. We're going to clear up the rest of the phone lines. You want to join the discussion, please do. 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. And we'll go back to the phone lines, but when we get through with that, we're going to go back and address these two issues that I've been teasing. One I got into a little bit, this Massachusetts decision that uses the Bruin case from the Supreme Court to invalidate the Massachusetts law, at least as to that individual, that says you can't be a citizen of another state and carry a handgun in Massachusetts. That's a big deal. And then also this IMPD shooting that's got a lot of people talking. And your phone calls for the remainder of the show as well. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, sir.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up Saturday, November 4th. These always sell out, so if you want to get a seat in that course, we'd love for you to sign up right away. It's Saturday, November 4th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Indy Arms, right there at 2550 East 55th Street. Beautiful indoor range, and they've got a nice big, comfortable classroom as well. That's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
You probably know how high mortgage rates have been recently. Because of that, most homeowners are staying put, investing into and preserving the home they have. If you're ignoring any cracked bricks, basement floor or concrete cracks, floor and wall gaps, bowed basement walls, or cracked chimneys, you could be ignoring underlying foundation problems that will only get worse over time. Indiana Foundation Service knows these signs lead to irreversible damage that could cause a reduction in your home's value and even make unsafe living conditions for you and your family. Don't wait any longer to have Indiana Foundation Service come out and inspect the problem. The experts from the Indiana Foundation Service team will identify your home's issue at the source. Visit IndianaFoundation.com today to book your free inspection with a no-obligation quote included. Indiana Foundation Service. There's a reason they are the trusted local experts.
Indiana Foundation Service. Reliability from the ground up.
Watch parties aren't what they used to be.
Welcome to today's matinee.
Ever since we got Xfinity, my little sister and her friends can easily stream all their favorite stuff.
We'll start with 2 episodes of Top Chef, then Chopped.
When I was a kid, we'd worry about buffering. Now they just worry about what's on the charcuterie board.
Enjoy these fine meats and cheeses.
These are just cut up hot dogs and spray cheese.
Indeed.
The best way to stream your favorites is on the Xfinity 10G network. Introducing the best value in live TV and streaming on the best network with Xfinity Internet and Now TV. Now through August 28th, get internet on the Xfinity 10G network for $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, add Now TV with Peacock Premium, a $5.99 a month value included at no extra cost for just $20 a month. Switch today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Now TV requires Xfinity Internet. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Stream Top Chef on Peacock.
Hey, Nigel here. My sidewalk and front porch were falling apart and needed completely replaced. I was just going to go with basic, regular, generic concrete that looked the same as before, but my wife, thankfully, was like, And she showed me the Indie Decorative Concrete website, and I was completely blown away at what they could do in terms of taking a basic sidewalk and porch and turning it into a custom stamped concrete area with more space and an absolutely awesome, unique look. Indie Decorative Concrete is locally owned. They don't use subcontractors. Check them out at indiedecorativeconcrete.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. And owner Chris Wedekin sells the Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, a great option for heating and cooling where ductwork can't be installed.
If you have one of those homes that has baseboard heat or electric heat, ceiling cable heat, these can be specifically designed for those houses because in those houses it's very difficult having to do all the construction and remodeling that goes with adding ductwork into those types of homes.
Find out more by going to AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Have you ever dropped off your documents for shredding and wondered what happened to them? At Quick Shred, documents are shred right in front of you at their retail location on East 62nd Street. No appointment needed and convenient curbside assistance is provided. No matter how big or how small, they shred it all. You leave knowing your confidential information has been completely destroyed. Quick Shred is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 and Saturdays, 9 to 2. Quick Shred at 62nd and Binford Boulevard. Quick Shred. We're all different. 1 in 5 of us live with a mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Talk to someone you trust. Learn more at bringchangetomind.org.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Just Got a couple of people still on hold. Let's go back to the phone lines. Robin's been on hold for a while. Robin, thanks for your patience.
Thank you. My question, you were recently speaking to a gentleman about reasonable force versus deadly force. What I would like to know is reasonable force considered anything below the waistline?
No. You mean shooting someone below the waistline?
Yes, I do. I'm 55, and my husband works 2 jobs, so he's constantly dead tired by the time he gets home at 1 in the morning. So I'm there alone a lot. So let me get a little more specific. If I take out a kneecap, is that considered reasonable?
No, and Robin, I'm not laughing at you. I'm at all. But no, if there's a gun involved, Robin, it's going to be considered to be deadly force, and no matter where you shoot someone, and I've had that question actually a lot over the years in my courses. Somebody will say, "Well, if I can't use deadly force, can I just shoot them in the leg?" Well, shooting someone in the leg is deadly force because deadly force is defined under Indiana law as force that creates a substantial risk of serious bodily injury. And serious bodily injury is also defined, and it's very broad. It talks about an injury that causes things like extreme pain, a risk of death. Well, the second largest, I believe, blood vessel in the body is the femoral artery. You shoot somebody in the femoral artery in the leg, and unless they get a tourniquet on them right away, or they're in an ER somewhere, they're going to die. And even anywhere else where you shoot someone in an extremity or otherwise, that's going to be considered deadly force because you're shooting them. So the gun simply can't be involved. In fact, we actually have a case in Indiana. It's called Nance versus State, excuse me. Nance, N-A-N-T-Z versus State, that says that merely pointing a loaded gun at someone creates a substantial risk of serious bodily injury, and that being the definition of deadly force means you cannot even point a gun at someone simply to protect your property. Now, I'm not talking about your home, as I mentioned earlier. I'm just talking about your stuff. Like the gentleman in the context of my answer had asked about someone shooting a person who was breaking into their car outside and saw him through a window and went out there and shot him, and the person died. And Nance versus State from the Indiana Court of Appeals says even pointing a loaded gun at someone is considered to be deadly force, which you cannot use merely to protect your property. So basically, to use the gun, Robin, you have to be in fear yourself of serious bodily injury, or you're protecting another innocent person from serious bodily injury, or if they're actually trying to break into your home, you can both prevent and terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on your home with deadly force. But if those things don't apply, you're not preventing serious bodily injury, you're not preventing what's called a forcible felony, and you're not preventing or terminating someone from that unlawful entry or attack on your home, then the gun needs to not be involved, is the way Indiana law works. And I'll tell you what, MM, it says, so gosh, Mr. Eminem, I love your music. I don't know if that's you or not, but thanks for calling the Gun Guy Show.
Guy, appreciate your show.
Sure.
And everything you've done for Indiana.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
My wife and I both have retired from Illinois, which I won't talk about. But earlier in the show, you talked about going to Illinois from Indiana with a gun in the car and so on and so forth. I still have a son in Illinois that I quite frequently go to, but have never taken a gun. Now, my really question is, if I carry a gun in my truck with me to Illinois, and God forbid, something should come up that I have to defend myself or my wife, what are the legal allegations of that, sir?
Yeah, understood. Well, first of all, I got to tell you, I'm not an Illinois attorney. So to break down all the different issues with, when you can defend yourself and whatnot, I mean, I always, in that context, limit my answers to Indiana law, where I'm licensed to practice law, and I'm not an Illinois lawyer. The point I was addressing earlier is that Illinois has changed its law in terms of recognizing other people's licenses, that is, residents of other states, that if you have, for instance, an Indiana license to carry handgun, Illinois now says you can have a handgun in your vehicle in Illinois. If you get out of the vehicle, it has to remain locked in the vehicle, out of sight, and it cannot leave the vehicle unless you have an Illinois license to carry. So your question that goes beyond that and says, okay, well, what if I've got my gun in my vehicle and I have my Indiana license and I'm traveling in Illinois and for some reason I now need to defend myself? Well, if you can possess the gun in your vehicle, I have to believe you haven't lost the ability to defend yourself with that gun while you're in your vehicle. If you leave your vehicle, and again, this is where I'm not an Illinois lawyer and cannot give you a definitive answer, but if I had to speculate, and as a lawyer, you never want to speculate when people's rights are involved or incarceration potentially is involved. If this is not legal advice by any stretch of the imagination, and on these exact issues, I would want you to talk to an Illinois lawyer just to verify. But my speculation would be that as soon as you got out of the vehicle with a gun, then you'd be violating Illinois law, and you'd be carrying a handgun without a license. Now, maybe if it was circumstances where you had to defend your life or defend someone else's life, you were broken down on the side of the road, you happened to take a step out of the vehicle, maybe they wouldn't decide to prosecute you. But my understanding of Illinois law is you're only legal to have that gun in the vehicle, and that's with an Indiana license to carry handgun, and the gun may not leave the vehicle. But beyond that simple fact, I would definitely want you to talk to an Illinois lawyer when we start talking about actually using force in Illinois, because I'm not qualified to answer those questions. All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. It's time to take a break. When we come back, we'll go back to our original agenda, get into a couple of other issues that I've been teasing throughout the show. And so we'll do that when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
61% of Americans are more afraid of running out of money in their old age.
It's not that surprising.
I saw a meme and I just thought it was everything. It was like, okay, so Europeans, I'm going to take the summer off because I want a suntan. Americans, I'm going to take 3 days off to have open heart surgery.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
500 Guns is just east of the Speedway and the Viaduct on 16th Street. Joe and Guy Montgomery are the experts to trust when you want to buy or sell guns. They buy single guns or entire collections. If you've decided this is the year to become a gun owner or to add to your collection, don't buy until you visit 500 Guns. Contrary to what many think, you actually can get better pricing at 500 Guns than at the big box stores, and a lot better service. See them today. 500 Guns, West 16th Street, Indianapolis.
Whether you're an experienced firearms owner or just thinking about getting a new firearm, Atkinson Firearms in Greenwood has everything you need. With brands like Glock, Smith & Wesson, Canik, Colt, Henry, SIG, and much more. If Atkinson Firearms doesn't have it, they can get it. Plus accessories, from holsters to ammo and everything between. Atkinson Firearms is firefighter owned and veteran staff with a new larger location. Follow Atkinson Firearms on Facebook. Atkinson Firearms, off County Line Road next to the Greenwood Airport.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, letting you know that when you need plumbing help, call who I call, my friends at Hope Plumbing. Not only are they experts in their field who respect the true value of customer service, they also love giving back to this community, which is evident in their referral program. If you refer a friend, Hope Plumbing will give you a $50 gift card to a local restaurant. Great plumbing and supporting local restaurants. What more could you ask for? For more information about the referral program, visit hopeplumbing.com.
Did you or a loved one serve in the United States military? Do you know all the VA medical benefits that might be available to you or your loved one? If you served 2 or more years in the military and were honorably discharged, you may be eligible for VA medical benefits. Some of those VA medical benefits might even be free. To learn more, simply follow VA Indianapolis on Facebook and Twitter. Follow VA Indianapolis on Facebook and Twitter. Get the VA medical benefits you earned and deserve.
Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. At least 4 people are confirmed dead in a mass shooting at a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman.
Our community is sick and tired of being sick and tired. Today, we're here, we're praying. We're asking the community. This was something that was unexpected.
The alleged shooters also dead. 7 people shot and wounded this morning in Boston at a Caribbean festival. Mayor Michelle Wu praising police.
It just shows the range of professionalism and work and just immediate action that is required on a day-to-day basis from all of our officers. We're so thankful that they are part of so many important city events.
2 arrests made, police finding multiple weapons. America's listening to Fox News.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
J&V here for Sundown Gardens, and Sundown is having their second annual Grab a Duck, Save a Buck sale. Come to the retail garden shop and save 10 to 50% off all retail purchases. Labor not included in sale. Shop for all of your garden center needs, and at checkout, pick a rubber duck from the pool and win 10 to 50% off your purchase. Grab a duck, save a buck. This week only at Sundown Gardens. Save 10 to 50%. 186th and Spring Mill Road. SundownGardens.com.
AE Ammo is Greenwood's ammunition superstore. The largest variety in training, hunting, and self-defense ammo with the best prices locally guaranteed. Factory new 9mm FMJ ammo starting at $12 per 50-round box. Factory new 50-round boxes, $380 from $14.99 and $45 ACP from $18.99. And with the AE Ammo Customer Rewards Program, start earning points today towards money back to use on future purchases. Shop in-store or online at aeammo.com.
459 Barber Lounge, the #1 choice for men's haircuts in Indiana on 86th Street across from the Fashion Mall. 459online.com. Tell them Tony Cat sent you.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back to The Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Man, thanks so much to all our callers. We just had fabulous callers tonight. It was really fun to answer really some wide-ranging questions, really good questions, good discussion. I'm sure a lot of people learned a lot from the questions that were asked by our callers. So, as always, thank you so much. But let's get back into a little more of the planned format. And I opened the show talking about this decision. Again, it's just one trial judge in one court in Massachusetts. And so it has no effect on us here in Indiana. And it was on this YouTube channel and you can see it on my Twitter at Guy Relford. Should be the first thing posted. Or most recent thing posted. And it's just, Supreme Court 6-3 decision does away with carry laws. And I'm like, what? And I read this and I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And the content of the video on YouTube is much more reasonable than the headline, because this decision sure as hell didn't do away with carry laws. The Supreme Court decision, and he's talking about New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, which did away with New York's discretionary may issue carry law. And it said where New York required someone to have sufficient need to carry a handgun before they got a license. And I said, oh no, this is a right. It's not a privilege granted by the state to a select few based on need. It's a constitutionally protected freedom. And just as importantly as that, and actually more so, the court also changed the analysis for determining whether a law does or does not violate the Second Amendment. Because for years, decades, courts have been using this system of applying different levels of scrutiny. They look at the level of infringement and then say, well, based on how badly this infringes the right, we'll apply different levels of scrutiny. And it was a balancing test where if the state had a compelling interest in the area in question, like, keeping the community safe, it's a compelling interest, then a little infringement was okay, or even a moderate level of infringement was all right under this sort of balancing test, which I never understood and I never agreed with. Well, that's gone. And now the test is simply one. And if you watch the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, he talked a lot about this, and he was grilled on this by all the Democrats because they really didn't like it. But he looks at constitutional analysis and constitutional jurisprudence, and he says, listen, this is not hard. It's based on text, history, and tradition. You look at what does the plain meaning of the constitutional protection say? What does it mean? And is a particular activity covered by that constitutional protection or not? If it is, then the proponents of the law, typically the state, or it could be the federal government, then has the burden of showing that that particular law, in violating, being covered by the Second Amendment, is consistent with the historical treatment and traditional regulation of Second Amendment rights in that area. In other words, show me similar laws that have been upheld in this country, or even back before the founding, and going back into particularly European and focusing on English law. Where has this regulation been upheld historically and traditionally? And only then, if you can establish that, does it pass constitutional muster. Otherwise, it's unconstitutional. And I said when that decision came down, I said, hey, look, I'm glad for those 8 or 9 states that have a may issue licensing system, because this is now tossed to that. And that's great. That is the Bruin decision that came down last fall. But it has much broader ramifications, because things like an assault weapon ban can't pass that test. Just can't. High-capacity magazines, quote unquote. Again, I'm putting assault weapon in quotes, right? People come up to me all the time. What the hell is an assault weapon? I get it. It's a political term. I agree with you. But in using that terminology, it can't pass that test. A magazine capacity ban can't pass that test. And what this Massachusetts judge said, and this is why it's so satisfying to read this opinion, it's only 7 or 8 pages long, it said, listen, the Second Amendment is the only right we can think of that is a constitutional freedom that you lose simply by crossing state lines. The conversation I just had with a caller. Hey, if I live in Illinois, or excuse me, I live in Indiana. If I go back to Illinois, do I lose my rights just by crossing the line, crossing the state line, including to defend myself? Well, and should it be that way? And of course it should not. And that's what this opinion says. So it was just one district court judge in state court in Massachusetts. It's not even the Massachusetts Court of Appeals. But if that analysis gets picked up, and I believe in my heart, it's the right legal analysis. I think it's absolutely correct, and it's a proper application of the Bruin decision. And to the extent that gets picked up by more courts, that gets picked up by a federal appellate court, that analysis ultimately winds up in front of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court adopts that same theory. That's how to get national reciprocity. I mean, if Congress passed a law tomorrow that said there's national reciprocity and every state has to recognize the licenses of every other state, that would be a good thing. I would be happy with that. And I was disappointed because we got that during the Trump administration. We got that past the House and we couldn't get the Senate to take it up, which upset me at the time and still upsets me. It was the time to get it done, was then. But what I would much rather have is a Supreme Court of the United States decision that says that. Why? Because what Congress gives, Congress can take away. I don't want Congress to pass a law that a future Congress can repeal. I want the law of the land to be states don't have the option of saying that I lose my Second Amendment rights simply by crossing state lines. I want this one district court opinion for Massachusetts that really, it even in Massachusetts only applies to the guy, the litigant, Mr. Donald, because it was found that the Second Amendment was violated as to him individually because of him being convicted under Massachusetts law. But I want that analysis to be picked up, and I want that to become the law of the land and imposed upon the states because that's what the Constitution requires. I'd much rather have a constitutional basis for my right to carry across every state in this country than have that simply be something given to me by Congress. And I'm sure you see the distinction. Right now, we're a little before the 3/4 hour. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And lastly, we're going to come back and talk about this IMPD shooting and exactly what Indiana law says on this point. You know, a caller earlier made, I think, a great sort of rhetorical point that says, since when does simply having a gun in your hand constitute a crime? Well, crime, no, just having a gun in your hand now. And I went through the analysis. Pointing it, yes. Shooting it in a way that endangers someone or you're intentionally trying to hurt someone that's not justified, absolutely that's a crime. Just having it in your hand, typically not, but that doesn't necessarily answer the question of whether this was a good shoot or a bad shoot by the IMPD officer. You can draw your own conclusions, but in the meantime, I will give you what the law says, which is always the proper context to have that discussion. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Stopped on 465
From
again.
the north side.
We haven't moved on 37
to the south side.
Avoid south side 465.
To the west side.
Yeah, stopped on westbound 465
to
again.
the east side.
Gridlock all the way through the east side.
Traffic's a bear.
Drove into a ditch through the tree line.
And
just
Matt Bear.
Traffic stop on the right.
He's a beast.
Traffic jam of epic proportion.
Helping you navigate the.
Oh, come on.
And the.
Let's go.
And the. With Matt Bear Traffic. Mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. You know, I've got a couple different classes for my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class scheduled. The earliest one coming up is Saturday, November 4th. That's going to be at Indy Arms in Indianapolis, northeast side. $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. This is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. And then 2 weeks later, Thursday, a little over 2 weeks, Thursday, November 16th, in Columbus, Indiana, at the Columbus City Hall, we're having Essentials of Indiana Gun Law for cops. This is for specifically for police officers. It's being sponsored and hosted by the Columbus Police Department, but it's open to any law enforcement officer across the state, including retired police officers. We'd love to have you there. It's also $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. I'm sure your department would spring for it. And you can also sign up right online for either one of those, for the class for civilians or the class for cops. One's November 4th. The second one's November 16th. You can sign up right online. It's tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The U.S. home price index is on the rise and interest rates are stabilizing. The market is turning more seller-friendly. If you have been waiting, now may be the best time to sell your home. Find out with the agent I recommend, Mark Dietl. Maybe you want to maximize your equity from your home, but not sure how. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Kevin and Lori had to say about working with Mark Dietl. Our family was growing and our house was too small. We found a bigger home, but we needed to sell our current home for top dollar to afford the bigger place. The Mark Dietl team made it happen. Our home sold in 7 days, but they made sure we closed on both houses in the same day. Amazing. Call for all the details. Call the agent I trust and recommend and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, Dietel.com.
Indy, stop spoiling your summers, painting year after year. Do what your neighbor Mark did. He called Rhino Shield.
It's a two-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
Rhino Shield's ceramic coating is specifically formulated for our climate.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
Indy, this just in. Take advantage of Rhino Shield's summer savings. Get $1,000 off plus 0% interest for 18 months.
It was done in 2001 and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Tony Katz here for Premier Arms in Brownsburg. Not only Central Indiana's premier arms dealer, but they are also the home of PA Jewelers, the jewelry store inside Premier Arms. They do a tremendous amount of estate buying. So they'll buy your used firearms and then they buy your used jewelry. The stuff from grandma that nobody wears anymore, they're buying it and they have one-of-a-kind pieces that you are going to love. Rings, bracelets, necklaces, watches, the works. Check them out in Brownsburg, 317-858-3030 or online at premierarms.com.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
I'd rather be folding laundry.
This is gonna be fun.
Said no one ever. Also, no one enjoys wasting time in traffic. That's why we love saving you time. Matt Baird Traffic.
Backups are already starting.
On 93 WIBC. Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So this IMPD shooting is getting a lot of attention. The IMPD, to their credit, released what they call a critical incident video, and it shows the body cam video of an officer being involved in this shooting. And his body cam video is by far the most, I think, informative on what happened. But this is a traffic stop. Apparently, this person was driving erratically, gets pulled over, and the video is posted. I invite you to go take a look at it. But we have the audio of at least the portion where the guy pulls over, looks to be going through his wallet. The officer is asked for his license and registration. Then the guy decides, for whatever reason, to grab a gun from inside his vehicle and take off running.
You got your driver's license, Andy? I just came off of prison. All right. Hold on. Don't come out here and talk with me. Come out here and talk with me. Come out the second car. Mama, right here.
Another car in that very close to Parker.
Man, stop. What I'm doing? Foot pursuit, eastbound 3. Stop it! Drop it!
So there you heard it. It's faint, and I don't know if you picked it up through your radio or on the internet, but he said, just got out of prison. This is the suspect. Just got out of prison, which I think is an interesting fact. And what does that tell the officer? Is that an indication this person's going to do whatever is necessary to not go back to prison? I think that's certainly a plausible scenario. And keep in mind, these things are always looked at as what we call the totality of the circumstances. That is, everything going on, everything known to that officer, everything perceived by that officer, what the officer could hear, see, experience, you name it. It's totality. It's the whole set of circumstances. So the person, if you haven't seen the video, he's running away from the officer. And running is perhaps not an accurate description. His family's attorney released a statement that said he'd been injured in a motorcycle accident a few years ago and really wasn't capable of running. He's sort of hobbling quickly away, but he's got a gun in his hand. And he made the decision to grab the gun before he started running. Very, very important fact. So a caller, I think wisely asked a question, since when is it a crime to have a gun in your hand? Well, it's not. However, does during a traffic stop, making a decision to grab a gun from the inside of your vehicle, because he's not just trying to get away. He made the decision to grab the gun first. Reasonable question to ask why. Then he's running away. Now, he does not aim the gun back at the officer. He doesn't turn around to look at the officer. He's running toward the edge of a house. The chase doesn't, as you can tell from the audio, it doesn't go on very long. I mean, it's basically about half a yard that this guy's running through. Officer raises the gun, fires 2 shots, hit him once, and the person died. So what's the law in this area? I mentioned this statute before, but with respect to arresting someone, because this guy it's a traffic stop, he hasn't yet been arrested. Then he takes off running. Well, what's the officer trying to do? He's trying to get to him, stop him, detain him, and arrest him. What force can an officer use to arrest someone? Well, Indiana Code, it's 3541-3-3. And it says a law enforcement officer is justified in using reasonable force if the officer reasonably believes that that force is necessary to enforce a criminal law or to effect an arrest. That's a reasonable force. However, an officer is justified in using deadly force only if the officer, 1, has probable cause to believe that deadly force is necessary to prevent the commission of a forcible felony, or to effect an arrest of a person who the officer has probable cause to believe poses a threat of serious bodily injury to the officer or a third person, and has given a warning, if feasible, to the person against whom deadly force is to be used. So this analysis, in terms of whether this was a legal shoot or not an illegal shoot, is going to come down to just that. Did grabbing the gun, making the decision to grab it, not just run away, but grab a gun and run away, and then running away from the officer without pointing the gun at the officer, but with a gun in his hand, did those facts, did that totality of circumstances combine to give that officer that reasonable belief that deadly force was necessary because the person posed the threat of serious bodily injury to the officer or a third person? Who else was in the area? You can't really see anybody else in the video, not that I noticed. That's what this comes down to. And again, I think that's a tough call. And would a jury find beyond a reasonable doubt the officer did not have that probable cause to believe the person poses a threat of serious bodily injury to the officer or otherwise? That's an interesting question. I don't know that anybody can look at that video and be real firm in their conviction one way or the other. And with that wraps up today's Gun Guy Show. Thanks so much to our callers. Thanks to you for listening. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Take a little trip this summer in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Indiana has over 20 state parks, so camp, swim, or just enjoy the best scenery the country has to offer. We want you to see it all. That's why every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations or visit drivehubler.com and choose from over 1,000 vehicles. Chevy, Ford, GMC, Buick, Nissan, Acura, Mazda, Honda, and many more. All makes, all models, certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle includes a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. Take a little trip this summer because Hubler's got you covered for 100,000.